across local matters.
The J.W. Williams Funeral Directors have been proudly serving the people of this community since 1918. Service is our motto. The poor, the rich, the middle class, and all are given the best of care and attention at all times. You have the privilege to select what you want. In your time of need, contact the capable, the competent, and the dependable staff of the J.W. Williams Funeral Home who is genuinely concerned with your care. At J.W. Williams Funeral Home, you are aptly served by the proprietor, president, Deacon Arthur L. Parker, who continues the traditions and values set forth by the past president, Dr. Napoleon Williams. Your announcers for the J.W. Williams Funeral Home Sunday morning program are Deacon Arthur L. Parker, Reverend Isaac H. Owens, Mrs. Calandra Wilkerson Parker, Minister Frankie Harmon, Miss Sandra Johnson, and Deacon Earl Clark, Jr.
Thank you, and good morning, friends. We come to you this morning to bring announcements, dedications, and songs. We certainly hope that your day may be brighter after listening to our program. The family of Miss Curtina Keisha Allen of Houston, Texas, and Cordele, Georgia. The family of Deacon Wayne Anthony Bailey of Cordele, Georgia. The family of Miss Sabrina Burnett Robinson of Perry, Georgia. The family of United States Army veteran Mr. Willie B. Harvey of Vienna, Georgia. The family of Miss Lysandra Faye McKenzie of Vienna, Georgia. The family of Miss Cheryl Denise McDonald of Cordele, Georgia. Would like to thank their many friends for the food, the flowers, the condolences, and all other expressions of sympathy and kindness shown to them during their hours of sorrow and bereavement during the past week. Miss Curtina Keisha Allen, age 38, of 2810 Lofty Elm Street, Houston, Texas, died Sunday, January 10th at the Houston Northwest Center in Houston, Texas. The funeral service for Miss Curtina Keisha Allen, age 38, was held Sunday, January 17th, graveside at the Sunnyside Cemetery in Cordele, Georgia. Her pastor, Pastor Lucille Montfort, pastor of the Straight and Narrow Way Ministries, officiated. Survivors include her loving and devoted mother, Miss Doris Allen of Houston, Texas, her loving grandmother, Miss Theodora Trice of Houston, Texas, her godchildren, Cole Richardson of Hawkinsville, Georgia, and Kamari Campbell of Cordele, Georgia. A beloved sister, Miss Keandra Langford, and her husband, Mr. Johnny Langford of Houston, Texas. Her god sister, Miss Brenda Oliver of South Carolina. Her beloved aunts and uncles, Miss Brenda Allen of Cordele, Georgia, Mr. Joel Dixon and Miss Jeanette Dixon, both of Fitzgerald, Georgia, Miss Nettie Holloman of Jonesboro, Georgia, beloved nieces Janiyah Langford, Jamara Langford, and Royal Goog, all of Houston, Texas. Her special cousins, Mrs. Stacy Williams, Mr. Fronte Allen, Miss Naisha Allen, Miss Veranda Dawson, Mr. Stantavius Dawson, Mr. Zamir Pickens, Miss Anastasia Allen, Miss Skylar Allen, Miss Tyler Dawson, Mr. Kason Glee, Mr. Vincent King Jr., Mr. Katerius Barber, Mr. Kelvin Cook, Mr. Jakevius Cook, and Miss Jamara Pickens, all of Cordele, Georgia. A beloved godmother, Dr. Frankie Harmon of Cordele, Georgia, a host of other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends, to include her special friends, Miss LaQuanza Works of Dallas, Texas, Miss Kenya Royer, Miss Serenity Redding, and Miss Marquita Jackson, all of Cordele, Georgia. Survived Miss Christina Keisha Allen, age 36, of 2810 Lofty Elm Street, Houston, Texas. Deacon Wayne Anthony Bailey, age 69, of 718 Meadow Drive, Cordele, Georgia, died Tuesday, January 12th, at the Chris Regional Hospital in Cordele, Georgia. The funeral service for Deacon Wayne Anthony Bailey, age 69, was held Monday, January 18th, graveside at the Westview Cemetery in Cordele, Georgia. The Reverend Johnny Dean, pastor of the New Poplar Springs Baptist Church, officiated. His beloved and devoted brother, the Reverend Kenneth Tooks Sr., pastor of the Spirit Life Fellowship Church, delivered the eulogy. Survivors include his loving and devoted wife, Mrs. Catherine Bivin Bailey of Cordele, Georgia, his loving son, Mr. Walter Ross Jr. of Cordele, Georgia, 5 beloved grandchildren, his beloved and caring brothers, Mr. Wendell Tooks and his wife, Mrs. Rita Tooks of Jonesburg, Georgia, Mr. V. Otis Tooks Jr. of Cordele, Georgia, and the Reverend Kenneth Tooks Sr. and his wife, Mrs. Valerie Tooks of Bon Air, Georgia, his beloved stepmother, Mrs. Lily D. Toots of Warner Robins, Georgia, his stepsisters, Miss Belinda Cheney and her husband, Mr. Siegel Cheney of Gary, Georgia, his stepbrothers, Mr. John A. Duhart III of Stone Mountain, Georgia, Mr. Eddie J. Duhart of Iowa, Mr. Kenneth Duhart and his wife, Mrs. Amaric Duhart of Douglasville, Georgia, and Mr. Norman V. Duhart of Indianapolis, Indiana. His beloved aunts and uncle, Mr. James Bailey of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Miss Lily Redding, Miss Lena Cross, Miss Minnie Kennedy, and Miss Clara McGill, all of Cordele, Georgia, and Miss Jenny Kennedy of Atlanta, Georgia. His in-law, Mr. Whitrow Bivens, and his wife, Mrs. LaQuetta Bivens, Mr. Rufus Bivens, and Mr. Dale Bivens, all of Cordele, Georgia, and Mrs. Helen Zachary and her husband, Mr. Perry Zachary of Albany, Georgia. A host of nieces, nephews, cousins, other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends survived. Deacon Wayne Anthony Bailey, age 69, of 718 Meadow Drive, Cordele, Georgia. Miss Sabrina Burnett Robinson, age 65, of 106 Smith Drive, Perry, Georgia, died Wednesday, January 13th, at her residence in Perry, Georgia. The funeral service and entombment for Miss Sabrina Burnett Robinson, age 65, was held Thursday, January 21st, at the Glen Haven Memorial Garden Mausoleum in Macon, Georgia. Her pastor, the Reverend Paul Little, pastor of the Bill Mount Zion Baptist Church officiated. Survivors include her loving and devoted children, Miss LaShondra Simmons and her husband, Mr. Michael Simmons, of Macon, Georgia, Mr. James B. Hall, Jr., and his wife, Mrs. Sherry Hall of Jonesburg, Georgia, and Miss Calendra E. Hall of Phoenix, Arizona. 19 beloved grandchildren, 5 great-grandchildren, her loving and devoted mother, Mrs. Gussie Lee Daniels of Vienna, Georgia, her loving sister, Miss Loretta Clark, and her husband, Mr. Joe Clark of Vienna, Georgia, her beloved brother, Mr. Kennedy A. Robinson, and his wife, Mrs. Sharita Robinson, and Mr. Willie B. Robinson, both of Cordele, Georgia, and Mr. Andre Robinson and his wife, Mrs. Yolanda Robinson of Americus, Georgia. Her beloved uncles, Deacon Theodore Key of Centerville, Georgia, and Mr. Thomas Key and his wife, Mrs. Cheryl Key of Miami, Florida. A host of nieces, nephews, cousins, other relatives, and many sorrowing friends survive. Miss Sabrina Burnett Robinson, age 65, 106 Smith Drive, Perry, Georgia. United States Army veteran, Mr. Willie B. Harvey, age 72, of 409 Dale Drive, Vienna, Georgia, died Friday, January 15, at the Chris Regional Hospital in Cordele, Georgia. The funeral service with military honors for United States Army veteran Mr. Willie B. Harvey, age 72, was held Saturday, January 23rd, graveside at the Vienna City Cemetery in Vienna, Georgia. The Reverend Charles Cobb Sr., pastor of the Free Providence Baptist Church, officiated. Survivors include his loving and devoted wife, Mrs. Nadine Harvey of Vienna, Georgia. His loving and devoted children, Miss Veronica Goldwire of Perry, Georgia, Miss LaPhaedra Harvey of Savannah, Georgia, Miss Tiffany Harvey of Snellville, Georgia, Miss Keisa Bryant, Miss Mariah Bryant, both of Vienna, Georgia, Miss Felicia Simmons of Cordele, Georgia, Mr. Mario Holmes of Warner Robins, Georgia, and Mrs. LaToya McRae and her husband, Mr. Bobby McRae of Douglasville, Georgia. His beloved grandchildren, 12 great-grandchildren, his loving sisters, Miss Linda Cobb of Vienna, Georgia, and Miss Shirley Lewis and her husband, Mr. Frank Lewis of Conyers, Georgia. His beloved aunts and uncles, Mr. James Bryant of Maryland, Miss Mary Baker, Miss Annie Eva Rawls, and Miss Marilyn Bryant, all of Vienna, Georgia, and Mrs. Betty Critton of Detroit, Michigan. His sisters-in-law, Mrs. Winnie Sparks, and Miss Brenda Waters and her husband, Mr. Darrell Waters of Jacksonville, Florida. Mrs. Inez Bivens of Vienna, Georgia, and Miss Bobby Smith of Cordele, Georgia. His brothers-in-law, Mr. Johnny Holmes and his wife, Mr. Artie Holmes of Jacksonville, Florida. Mr. Eddie Holmes and his wife, Mrs. Josephine Holmes of Tampa, Florida. And Mr. Gary Holmes of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. A host of nieces and nephews, to include his devoted nephews, Mr. Jerome Passmore and Mr. Demetrius Passmore, both of Vienna, Georgia. A host of cousins, other relatives, and many sorrowing friends survive. United States Army veteran, Mr. Willie B. Harvey, age 72, of 409 Dale Drive, Vienna, Georgia. Miss Lysandra Faye McKenzie, age 45, of 417 Cedar Street, Vienna, Georgia, died Wednesday, January 13th at Pruitt Health in Macon, Georgia. The funeral service for Miss Lysandra Faye McKenzie, age 45, was held Saturday, January 23rd, graveside at the Vienna City Cemetery in Vienna, Georgia. Bishop James Williams of Unadilla, Georgia, officiated. Survivors include her loving and devoted mother, Mrs. Helen Ruth Fuller Phillips of Vienna, Georgia. Her loving and devoted daughter, Miss Shana Hodrick of Vienna, Georgia. Her adored grandchildren, Miss Skylar Hodrick, Miss Nyla Hutchins, Mr. Montreal Kendrick, and Miss Heavenly Whitehead. Her beloved sister, Miss Sarah Fuller Brown of Cordele, Georgia. Her beloved brother, Mr. Murphy Fuller of Atlanta, Georgia. Her loving God sister, Miss Lakeisha Hodrick of Vienna, Georgia. A beloved aunt, Miss Vivian Brooms of Cordele, Georgia. Her beloved nieces and nephew, whom she reared, Miss Corianna Phillips, Miss Chandra Anna Phillips, and Mr. Omri Brown, all of Vienna, Georgia. A host of cousins, to include her special cousin, Miss Carla Pringle of Cordele, Georgia, and Miss Salitha Pringle of Vienna, Georgia. A host of other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends, to include Miss Kimberly Clark and Miss DeWanna Anderson, both of Warner Robins, Georgia, Miss Jennifer Hubbard Clemens of Americus, Georgia, Miss Angela Hunt, Miss Shakiva Reeves, and Miss Erica Grace, all of Cordele, Georgia, and Miss Tracy Peterson of Vienna, Georgia. Survived Miss LaShondra Faye McKenzie, age 45, of 417 Cedar Street, Vienna, Georgia. Miss Cheryl Denise McDonald, age 61, of 508 West 9th Avenue, Cordele, Georgia, died Monday, January 18, at the Chris Regional Hospital in Cordele, Georgia. The funeral service for Miss Cheryl Denise McDonald, age 61, was held Saturday, January 23rd, graveside at the Bethel Cemetery in Cordele, Georgia. The Reverend Cecil Strouder, pastor of the Gethsemane Baptist Church, officiated. Evangelist Vanessa Thomas delivered the eulogy. Survivors include her loving and devoted daughters, Miss Keisha Willingham of Atlanta, Georgia, and Miss Kenya Wilson and her husband, Mr. Spratis Wilson of Cordele, Georgia. Her beloved grandchildren, Miss Gabrielle Coleman, Mr. Michael Williams, Mr. Spratis Wilson Jr., and Mr. Maxwell Willingham, all of Atlanta, Georgia. Her adored great-grandchildren, Miss Paige Coleman and Miss Skylar Coleman, both of Atlanta, Georgia. Her beloved brothers, Mr. Elijah Rouse and Mr. Alvin Rouse and his wife, Mrs. Ann Rouse, both of Cordele, Georgia, and Mr. Sam Reed and his wife, Mrs. Elizabeth Reed of Atlanta, Georgia. A beloved aunt, Miss Pearl Reed of Cordele, Georgia. Her beloved nieces and nephews, Miss Christine Reed, Mr. Aaron Reed III, Miss Lady Redding, Miss Shanita Redding, and Mr. Kayvon Jones, all of Atlanta, Georgia. Mr. Rashad Redding of Cordele, Georgia. A host of cousins, to include Miss Cassandra Reed, Miss Zelda McGriff, Miss Margie Kears, all of Cordele, Georgia, and Miss Debbie Reed of Atlanta, Georgia. a host of other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends, to include a special friend, Evangelist Vanessa Thomas and Miss Loretta Phelps, both of Atlanta, Georgia, Miss Lily Redding and Miss Wilma Coley, both of Cordele, Georgia, survived. Miss Cheryl Denise McDonald, age 61, of 508 West 9th Avenue, Cordele, Georgia. Again, the family of Miss Christina Keisha Allen of Cordele, Georgia, the family of Deacon Wayne Anthony Bailey of Cordele, Georgia, the family of Miss Sabrina Burnett Robinson of Perry, Georgia, the family of United States Army veteran Mr. Willie B. Harvey of Vienna, Georgia, the family of Miss Lysandra Faye McKenzie of Vienna, Georgia, the family of Mrs. Cheryl Denise McDonald of Cordele, Georgia, would like to thank their many friends for all of the many kindnesses shown to them during the hours of sorrow and bereavement during the past week. May God bless each of you is their prayer. Thank you. I just need you. The J.W. Williams funeral directors serving Cordele and Vienna were in charge of each of these arrangements during the past week. And now, it is certainly with the deepest regret that we make the following announcements. Mother Frances Westbrook Williams, age 96, of 412 South 10th Street, Cordele, Georgia, died Wednesday, January 20th at the Chris Regional Hospital in Cordele, Georgia. Survivors include her loving and devoted children, Mrs. Edwina Poole and Mr. Willie J. McGriff, and his wife, Mrs. Zelda McGriff, both of Cordele, Georgia, Mrs. Joanne Carver of Detroit, Michigan, Mrs. Carnell Harris and her husband, Mr. Larry Harris of Warner Robins, Georgia, Deacon Tony Williams and his wife, Mrs. Jessica Williams of Cordele, Georgia, Miss Mitzi Williams and Miss Patty Johnson, both of Warner Robins, Georgia. A host of grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and great-great-grandchildren, to include a grandson whom she reared, Mr. Quentin Peacock. A host of nieces and nephews, to include Mrs. Clementine Baker of Oakland, Florida. A host of cousins, other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends, to include Mr. Milton Royal and Mr. Curtis Royal, whom she raised. Survived Mother Frances Westbrook Williams, age 96, of 412 South 10th Street, Cordele, Georgia. The funeral service for Mother Frances Westbrook Williams will be held today, Sunday, January 24th at 10 a.m. on the grounds of her beloved Mount Zion First African Baptist Church in Cordele, Georgia. The pastor, Dr. Dan James III, will officiate. The burial will follow at the Bethel Cemetery in Cordele, Georgia. Mr. Blake Alexander Robinson, age 27, of 320 Overland Way, Gray, Georgia, died Tuesday, January 19, at his residence in Gray, Georgia. Survivors include his loving and devoted mother, Mrs. Janitha Lewis of Gray, Georgia, his beloved and devoted father, Mr. Augusta Robinson, and his wife, Mrs. Deidre Robinson of Warner Robins, Georgia, two loving sisters, Miss Taylor Robinson of Marietta, Georgia, and Miss Jordan Turner of Kennesaw, Georgia. Two step-brothers, Mr. Dexter Wilson and Mr. Darius Wilson, both of Bonner, Georgia. His grandparents, Evangelist Eden Rogers of Conley, Georgia, and Mr. Augusta Robinson Sr. of Bronx, New York. Three beloved aunts, Miss Shonda Cole and her husband, Mr. Michael Cole of Zion, Illinois, Miss Rhonda Robinson and Miss Letitia Turner, both of Harlem, New York. Three beloved uncles, Mr. George Turner of Harlem, New York, Mr. Theodore Ingram of Atlanta, Georgia, Mr. Allen Northington of Augusta, Georgia. 10 beloved great aunts, Miss Easter Freeman of Jones Island, South Carolina, Mrs. Pearl Wilkes, Mrs. Margie Brightman, Mrs. Mary Barthel, all of Bronx, New York, Mrs. Annette Robinson of North Charlotte, South Carolina, Miss Sharon Hubbard of California, Miss Betty Ingram of Americus, Georgia, Ms. May Bertha Barthel of New York, New York, Ms. Jacqueline Malone of Chicago, Illinois, Ms. Deborah Barthel of Phoenix City, Alabama, and Ms. Tracy Watts and her husband, Mr. Howard Watts of Virginia Beach, Virginia. 7 beloved great uncles, Mr. Samuel Barthel and his wife, Mrs. Annie Barthel, Mr. Lucius Barthel III, Mr. Albert Barthel, Mr. Calvin Barthel, all of Americus, Georgia. Mr. Julius Robinson of Charleston, South Carolina, Mr. Price Robinson, and Mr. Eugene Robinson, both of Bronx, New York. 2 beloved aunts, Mrs. Andre McDill and Miss Leslie Collier, both of Macon, Georgia. A host of other relatives and many, many sorrowing friends survive. Mr. Blake Alexander Robinson, age 27, of 320 Overland Way, Gray, Georgia. The funeral service for Mr. Blake Alexander Robinson, age 27, will be held today, Sunday, January 24th at 2 p.m. graveside at Staley Memorial Gardens in Americus, Georgia. The Reverend Brian Collier will officiate. Mr. Robert Butts Jr., age 74, of 2106 South 7th Street, Cordele, Georgia, died Wednesday, January 20th, at the Cordele Health and Rehabilitation Center in Cordele, Georgia. Survivors include his loving and devoted wife, Mrs. Geraldine Butts of Cordele, Georgia, his loving and devoted children, Mr. Troy Butts of Richardson, Texas, Mr. Dwayne DeWine Butts, Mr. Tyrone Carter, Miss Nettie Carter, and Mr. Ernest Carter, all of Cordele, Georgia. 20 beloved grandchildren, 5 great-grandchildren, his loving and devoted sisters, Mrs. Melba Carter, Miss Jessie Mae Sanders, Miss Lucinda Butts, Miss Louise Burgess, all of Cordele, Georgia. A beloved brother, Mr. Zoni Butts of Cordele, Georgia. His sisters-in-law, Mrs. Rosa Carter and Mrs. Edna Mae Carter. His beloved brother-in-law, Mr. Henry Carter, and a host of nieces, nephews, cousins, other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends, to include Mr. Leonard Morgan of Cordele, Georgia, survived Mr. Robert Butts Jr., age 74, of 2106 South 7th Street, Cordele, Georgia. The funeral service for Mr. Robert Butts Jr., age 74, will be held Wednesday, January 27th at 12 noon, graveside at the Mount Olive Baptist Church Cemetery in Warwick, Georgia. The Reverend Joseph Atkin, pastor of the Friendship Baptist Church, will officiate. The public walk-up viewing will be Tuesday, January 25th, from 1 p.m. until 5 p.m. at the J.W. Williams Funeral Home. Mr. Aldine Holmes, age 47, of 207 Lorraine Avenue, Americus, Georgia, died Sunday, January 17, at the Phoebe Sumter Medical Center in Americus, Georgia. Survivors include his loving and devoted children, Miss Shanika Holmes, Miss Mary Holmes, Miss Alexis Holmes, Miss Chastity Holmes, and Miss Jace Holmes, all of Americus, Georgia. 5 beloved grandchildren, a beloved godmother, Miss Ola Mae Lyles of Americus, Georgia. His loving sisters, Miss Lizzie Gibson and her husband, Mr. Henry Gibson of Raleigh, North Carolina. Miss Stella Mae Love of Tallahassee, Florida. Miss Betty Foster and her husband, Mr. Bobby Foster. Mrs. Bernitha Mabel, Mrs. Dorothy Mabel and her husband, Mr. Donnie Mabel, all of Americus, Georgia. His beloved brothers, Mr. Willie Houston of Leslie, Georgia, Mr. Ricardo Holmes, Mr. Willie Holmes, and Mr. Timothy Holmes, all of Americus, Georgia. His beloved aunts and uncles, Mr. Willie Bateman and his wife, Mrs. Jessie Bateman, Mrs. Dorothy Hamilton and her husband, Mr. James Hamilton, Mrs. Evelyn Asbury and her husband, Mr. Jimmy Asbury, Mrs. Georgia Johnson and her husband, Mr. Lawrence Johnson, Miss Patricia Bell and her husband, Mr. David Bell, Mr. Johnny Lyles, Mr. Joe Lewis Mabel, and Mr. Johnny Mabel and his wife, Mrs. Patricia Mabel, all of Americus, Georgia. A host of other relatives and many, many sorrowing friends survive. Mr. Aldine Holmes, age 47, of 207 Lorraine Avenue, Americus, Georgia. The funeral service for Mr. Aldine Holmes will be announced at a later date, pending the completion of the arrangements. Mother Cora Lee Sanders Palmer, age 86, of 109 Bass Street, Cordele, Georgia, died Saturday, January 23rd, at her residence here in Cordele, Georgia. Survivors include her loving and devoted daughters, Mrs. Mary E. Coleman and her husband, Mr. Raymond Coleman, and Mrs. Brenda L. Palmer, both of Cordele, Georgia. her beloved son, Mr. Edward J. Palmer, his wife, Mrs. Mary Palmer of Vienna, Georgia, Mr. Willie J. Palmer, and Mr. Johnny B. Palmer, both of Cordele, Georgia, a host of loving and devoted grandchildren and great-grandchildren, a host of other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends survive. Mother Cora Lee Sanders Palmer, age 86, 109 Bass Street, Cordele, Georgia. The funeral service for Mother Cora Lee Sanders Palmer, age 86, will be announced at a later date, pending the completion of the arrangement. The J.W. Williams Funeral Directors, serving Cordele and Vienna, are in charge of each of these arrangements during this week. Friends, that conclude our funeral notices for this morning. And as always, we do remind you concerning our pre-funeral arrangements planning available at the J.W. Williams Funeral Home, with packages available with a single pay, a 3-year pay, a 5-year pay, and a 10-year pay. So please stop by and talk with us concerning your pre-funeral arrangements needs available at the J.W. Williams Funeral Home. And also whole life insurance is available at the J.W. Williams Funeral Home. So please stop by and talk with us concerning your pre-funeral arrangements needs, along with whole life insurance available at the J.W. Williams Funeral Home.
And now for our announcements. You're invited to worship at the New Poplar Springs Baptist Church today. Morning worship service begins at 9:45 a.m. Wednesday evening service will begin at 6:45 p.m. You may join them via conference call by calling 253-993-3761. Again, that number is 253-993-3761. Pastor Johnny Dean is the pastor. The Greater Mars Tabernacle Baptist Church invites you to worship with them by way of conference call. The schedule is as follows: Sunday morning worship service at 9 o'clock a.m., Tuesday midday prayer at 12 o'clock noon, Thursday prayer meeting and Bible study is held at 6 o'clock p.m. The conference call number is 229-329-7611. Again, that number is 229-329-7611. Mother Lucille Shazer, Church Mother, Deacon Arthur L. Parker, Chairman of Deacons, Dr. K.M. Williams is the pastor. You're invited to worship with the Emmanuel Missionary Baptist Church today as they pull up and praise for their Pull Up and Praise worship service that's going to be held at 1818 U.S. Highway 41 North. Service will begin at 10 o'clock a.m. Pastor Gregory Williams and the members extend you a very cordial invitation to worship with them during this time. Emmanuel Missionary Baptist Church, Pull Up and Praise. The Mount Zion First African Baptist Church invites you to worship with them by way of conference call. The schedule is as follows: Sunday morning, 10 o'clock a.m., prayer meeting at 12 o'clock noon on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and Bible study is held each Wednesday at 5 o'clock p.m. The conference call number is 1-515-604-9765. The access code is 288180. Deacon Joe Wedges is the chairman of deacons. Dr. Dan James III is the pastor. The Gethsemane Baptist Church invites you to worship with them each Sunday morning by way of Zoom. Sunday morning worship service begins at 10:30 a.m. The public call-in number is 312-626-6799. The meeting ID number is 846-9805 5243. The passcode to enter is 50814. Bible study is held each Wednesday at 7 o'clock p.m. via conference call. That number is 229-234-9066. Brother Cecil Straughter is the pastor. You have a very cordial invitation to worship with the Vienna Church of Christ during their morning worship service today via Zoom. The meeting ID number is 447-485-6691. Service will begin at 11:30 a.m. and the special guest speaker sharing with them will be Ms. Carol Kine. You have a cordial invitation to worship with the Vienna Church of Christ, as Carol Kine Colbert will be live with them. They also extend you a cordial invitation to worship with them in their Ladies' Tea and Prayer Devotion, which will be held on Saturday, February the 12th at 12 o'clock noon via Zoom. The meeting ID is 69688-72853. The guest speaker will be Sister Marilyn LaStrap of Hewitt, Texas. The song leader will be Sister Bernetta Foley of Warner Robins, Georgia. Join them for prayer as they share with them. And if you have other questions or concerns regarding these programs, please contact any member of the Vienna Church of Christ. Brother Carl Colbert is the minister. That concludes our announcements for this morning.
And now for dedication. Our first election this morning is dedicated to the following: in loving memory of Mr. Anthony Travell Paul, who departed this life January 22nd, 1981. Dedication requested by the entire Paul family, gone but not forgotten. In loving memory of Mr. David Clyde Linder, who would have celebrated his birthday January 24th. Dedication requested by his beloved sisters, Miss Angela Walker, Miss Kalisha Linder, and Miss Tiana Brown. Gone but not forgotten. In loving memory of Mrs. Daisy Jones, who departed this life January 27, 2008. Dedication requested by the Jones family, her beloved granddaughter, Deaconess President, Sister Jones and family. In loving memory of Mrs. Beatty Adams, who departed this life January 29, 2003. Dedication requested by the Adams family and the members of the Mount Zion First African Baptist Church, gone but not forgotten. Our first election this morning is dedicated to the following: happy anniversary to the Reverend Mike and Mrs. Nancy Evans, who will celebrate their anniversary Wednesday, January 27th, and also happy birthday to the Reverend Mike Evans, who celebrates his birthday Thursday, January 28th. Dedication requested by the Evans family. Our first election this morning is dedicated to the following: happy birthday to Miss Valerie Carter, who will celebrated her birthday Sunday, January 17th. Dedication requested by the Carter, Lawton, and Epps families. Happy birthday to Mrs. Betty Epps, who celebrated her birthday Sunday, January 17. Dedication requested by the Lawton and Epps family. Happy birthday to the Reverend Charles Cobb Sr., who celebrated his birthday Wednesday, January 20th. Dedication requested by his beloved wife, Sister Deborah Cobb, his children, grandchildren, members of the Free Providence Baptist Church of Vienna, Georgia, and members of the Spring Hill Baptist Church of Tippettville, Georgia. Happy birthday to our brother and friend, the Reverend Charles Cobb Sr., on Wednesday, January 20th. Happy birthday to Mr. Frederick Royal, who celebrated his birthday Sunday, January 17. Dedication requested by the Royal, Lawton, and Epps family. Happy birthday to Mrs. Sherry Harris of Albany, Georgia, who celebrated her birthday Friday, January 22nd. Dedication requested by her husband, Deacon Dennis Harris, her son Philip, grandchildren, Braylon and Bailey, and the entire family. Happy birthday to Mrs. Betty Green, who celebrated her birthday Saturday, January 23rd. Dedication requested by her beloved family. And happy birthday to our beloved deacon and friend of long standing, Deacon Henry King of the Gethsemane Baptist Church, who will celebrate his birthday Wednesday, January 27th, Wednesday, January 27th. Dedication requested by the entire family. Happy birthday, Deacon Henry King of the Gethsemane Baptist Church. And special birthday wishes goes out. Happy 100th birthday to Mrs. Lily Bell Jones Harris of DeSoto, Georgia. Dedication requested by Mrs. Bernice Watts and the entire family there. Happy birthday, 100 years to Mrs. Lily Bell Jones Harris of DeSoto, Georgia. God bless you, and many, many more. Our first selection this morning is dedicated to the following: Mother Minnie Fletcher and family, Mr. and Mrs. Danny Jackson and family, Ms. Idabelle Patrick and family, Mr. and Mrs. John Manning and family, Mr. Philip Stembridge and family, Deacon and Mrs. Norman Field and family, Mrs. Donna Cobb and family, Mrs. Annette Stembridge and family, Mrs. Rita Cross and family, Ms. Carrie Brooks and family, Mr. Ray Rollins and family, Mr. Luddy Williams and family, Mrs. Martha A. Cross and family, Sister Willie Mae Crapp and family, Mother Easter Byram and family, my neighbor, Mother Theron Jones and family, and the entire Jones and Talbert family, Mrs. Juanita, Mr. Johnny Talbot and family, Mr. Alfred Wright and family of Albany, Georgia, and his sister, Miss Alice Wright and family, Evangelist Dorothy Sims Williams, prayer warrior. It is certainly with the deepest regret that we make the following announcements. Mother Frances Westbrook Williams, age 96, of 412 South 10th Street, Cordele, Georgia, died Wednesday, January 20th at the Chris Regional Hospital in Cordele, Georgia. The funeral service for Mother Frances Westbrook Williams, age 96, will be held today, Sunday, January 24th at 10 a.m. on the grounds of her beloved Mount Zion First African Baptist Church in Cordele, Georgia. The pastor, Dr. Dan James III, will officiate. The burial will follow at the Bethel Cemetery in Cordele, Georgia. Mr. Blake Alexander Robinson, age 27, of 320 Overland Way, Gray, Georgia, died Tuesday, January 19th at his residence. The funeral service for Mr. Blake Alexander Robinson, age 27, will be held today, Sunday, January 24th at 2 p.m. graveside at Staley Memorial Gardens in Americus, Georgia. The Reverend Bryant Collier will officiate. Mr. Robert Butts Jr., age 74, of 2106 South 7th Street, Cordele, Georgia, died Wednesday, January 20th at the Cordele Health and Rehabilitation Center in Cordele, Georgia. The funeral service for Mr. Robert Butts Jr., age 74, will be held Wednesday, January 27th at 12 noon, graveside at the Mount Olive Baptist Church Cemetery in Warwick, Georgia. The Reverend Joseph Atkins, pastor of the Friendship Baptist Church, will officiate. The public walk-up, viewing, and visitation will be Tuesday, January 25th from 1 p.m. until 5 p.m. at the J.W. Williams Funeral Home. Mr. Aldine Holmes, age 47, of 207 Lorraine Avenue, Americus, Georgia, died Sunday, January 17th at the Phoebe Sumter Medical Center in Americus, Georgia. The funeral service for Mr. Aldine Holmes, age 47, will be announced at a later date pending the completion of the arrangements. Mother Cora Lee Sanders Palmer, age 86, 109 Bass Street, Cordele, Georgia, died yesterday, Saturday, January 23rd, at her residence in Cordele, Georgia. The funeral service for Mother Cora Lee Sanders Palmer, age 86, will be announced at a later date, pending the completion of the arrangements. The J.W. Williams Funeral Director serving Cordele and Vienna are in charge of each of these arrangements during this week. Our selection this morning is dedicated to the bereaved families whose loved ones were laid to rest during the past week. The family of Miss Christina Keisha Allen of Cordele, Georgia. The family of Deacon Wayne Anthony Bailey of Cordele, Georgia. The family of Miss Sabrina Burnett Robinson of Perry, Georgia. The family of United States Army veteran Mr. Willie B. Harvey of Vienna, Georgia. The family of Miss LaShondra Faye McKenzie of Vienna, Georgia. The family of Mrs. Cheryl Denise McDonald of Cordele, Georgia. This election is dedicated to the bereaved families whose loved ones will be laid to rest during this week. The family of Mother Frances Westbrook Williams of Cordele, Georgia. The family of Mr. Blake Alexander Robinson of Gray, Georgia, and Americus, Georgia. The family of Mr. Robert Butts Jr. of Cordele, Georgia. The family of Mr. Aldine Holmes of Americus, Georgia. The family of Mother Cora Lee Sanders Palmer of Cordele, Georgia. This election is dedicated to all of the sick and shut-in, to all patients in the local and surrounding hospitals and nursing homes, rehabilitation centers, to our beloved ministers and their devoted family members, to all retired educators, to the men and women serving in our armed forces, both stateside and abroad, to all veterans, and to everyone who listens to our program on each Sunday morning. It's a pleasure for us to bring it to you. Our program goes out in memory of our past president, Dr. Napoleon Williams, to my wife, Mrs. Calandra Wilkerson Parker, to my son, Jai Wilkerson Parker. This election goes out to my mother-in-law, Mrs. Billy Ann Hall, and family, to my brother, retired Chief Master Sergeant Norman F. Dexter, and his wife, Dr. Gwendolyn Maxine Dexter, and family of Vienna, Georgia. To my sisters, Mrs. Manny Mae Johnson, better known as Sister Girl, and Mrs. Patsy Jackson, her husband, Sir Jim Jackson of Cordele, Georgia. This election goes out to my nephew, Deacon Kenneth Smith, program chairman of the Greater Morris Tabernacle Missionary Baptist Church, and to our pastor, Dr. K.M. Williams, again inviting you to worship this morning via conference call and Facebook Live at 9 a.m. the Greater Morris Tabernacle Baptist Church. Our program goes out to our church mother, Mother Lucille Shazer, age 107, soon be age 108 in February. 108 years old in February, and still calling and fussing over the phone. 108 years old. Yes, she's still calling and fussing. Good morning, Mother. God bless you. Our program this morning again goes out to each and everyone who listens to our program. It's a pleasure for us to bring it to you. It goes out to our beloved Miss Easter Sanders and family. Goes out to Deacon and Mrs. Freddie Perry and family of Vienna, Georgia, the entire Perry family. It goes out to Deacon James Smith and family, and to each and every one who listens to our program on each Sunday morning. God bless you.
for joining us this morning. We hope you've enjoyed our program. Tune in again on next Sunday morning. And remember, in your time of need, contact the competent, capable, and dependable staff at the J.W. Williams Funeral Home.
Some of these days.